Gotcha. Oh, you got it? Go.
You've been doing this for, I'm just curious, the situation with Daimion, how do you handle that with the player, with the team and perspective? Because you still had to play a game tonight, even with all that's going on.
So, you know, it kind of played out. Mom was in Texas, hadn't heard from her husband. Can you go check? And then Daimion's at the office, Mom's in Texas, got to talk to both. Then I have to go back and tell the team. I had staff up at the apartment. And, you know, I was good until I walked in the room and saw their face. And you're trying to stay strong for them, but it took me some time to get composed. And the message, you know, it wasn't what Ben did, and it's not something that someone did to Ben. God took him. The night before, he was with Daimion. They were in the gym for an hour and a half. When he got back to the apartment, he called his wife. They were on the phone for 20 minutes. When he hung up the phone, sometime shortly thereafter, he passed away. Now, for the team, that first night, we had, I think, 6 guys stayed at my house. And then his mother and sister and auntie came in and cousins. And then they stayed at the house. And you know, Ellen and I, you just, you know, for the players, you got to be there for each other. And spending time with Daimion, and, you know, he's very quiet. And I told him, grieving and depression, you're going to get in a dark place. And my only thing to him was, if all you're doing is sleeping and looking at that phone, you're in that dark place. And if you need to talk to players, talk to your teammates. Even if you're crying, you got to talk to somebody. And the other thing is, you got to exercise or do something to get you going, because, you know, he's in Texas right now, looking after his mom and his sister and his brother. But it was we didn't practice that day. Yesterday I was into it, but it just, you know, went back, and the team yesterday all came to the house to be with his family. We ate, and, but this, you know, it hits because he was here. And then it was, you know, but I feel for Daimion. I worry about him. You know, we had psychologists there for the team if they needed it, and they got cards if they want to do something. I had a couple guys stay at the house last night again. But it's, you know, it's just the only thing I said to Kim and Daimion is, God is good. His last hours were with his son, who he loved and was very, very close to, and he was on the phone with his wife. But there's nothing you can really say in these. I just was listening and there for them, and how can we help? What can we do? But I told him, you know, you take what you need to take, how much time you need to take. You know, we'll hold the fort down for you. Who is it? Yeah.
Cal, heard talk about basketball after that, but you guys did play a game tonight and played with a lot of guys, including Daimion. How did you think Kaysen at point guard did? Seemed like he handled you guys pretty well, and he's obviously, I'm sure some of that's weighing on him, as I know he's cousins with.
It's his cousin. You know, he's a little beat up. CJ's still a little beat up, but what I liked was we opened up the court a little bit different. You learn a little bit from Missouri. This is a new team. So you try certain things, and we've already thrown out 2 or 3 things we were running that we won't run. But Kentucky State came in and physically did their thing, but we made shots today. So you make shots, it all looks different. Uganda gets 11 rebounds. Lance gets 9 rebounds. I told him he could have gotten a few more, but he's 4 for 7 from the line. I'll live with that all day. I thought Chris was better today. Antonio made shots today. We just, we're going to be a team for the time being that, you got to make some jump shots. You're going to have to. And we have the kind of team that can. Wanted to do some things with Jacob to make him get near that basket and, do some things physically, and I thought he did okay. But, and I even told Coach after, Coach Jackson, I just said, look, we shot the ball well today. We didn't last game. We did this game, so. Yes.
John, back to Daimion's situation for a minute. In your career, have you had to deal with something similar to this or exactly like this?
I had to. Marcus Camby, most of you are not old enough. I'm looking around the room. Marcus Camby, we're at St. Bonaventure, and I'm in the locker room, and he passes out, and he's on the floor unconscious in the hallway. And Dante Bright, I can still remember, runs into me and say, Coach, Marcus fell out. Marcus fell out. And I ran out, and literally he was out cold. I didn't coach the game. I went to the hospital with the kid. I was so concerned. I thought he was going to pass away. And so I can still remember the feeling, being in the waiting room, pacing, praying. He ended up being okay. He had to stay in the hospital, try to figure out what it was. They never did. And it was hard coaching him the rest of the year because anytime he went to grab his knees, you okay? You all right? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm dealing with people's children. I had one of the parents call me and from this team and say, you look after my son, please. He's never dealt with anything like this. And he's one of the guys that stayed at the house, and he stayed again last night for the same reason. So, it puts things in the perspective it needs to be, but it's not fair. I told the team, things aren't fair. That man sold his business. He had a trucking business. He also drove, but he sold it so he could be here with his son. Think about that. Said, I can't leave it in anyone else's hands, so I'm going to sell the business. And now he wasn't up here full time, but he was in and out, and he happened to be in. And he in the upper deck, he'd sit up in the upper deck. He waved to me and sit up there and watch. The guys that were in the gym that night before saw him in there, so. But it happened with Camby that kind of way, which is you just drop everything. It's whatever's going on literally does not matter at that point. I even asked the guys, do you want to play this exhibition? I left it up to them because, everybody grieves different and everybody handles what just happened differently. And a lot of it will be a couple days from now that there may be some stuff we got to deal with.
Hey, John, has anything that you guys done in these 2 exhibitions, has it maybe changed your perception of what he might be able to bring to the team this season?
The biggest thing, we're probably not as good without Oscar. But I think we've got to space the court, and some of the stuff that I put in, I took out after Missouri Western. I said, we're not doing this and we're not doing that. And so you could see we played a little bit different today. I got a really smart team. I'll tell you who's really smart too is Uganda. You only got to tell him one time. So, yeah, and then defensively, we just got to keep figuring out. The biggest thing happened today. Every time we played behind the post, they scored. Every time. So what do you think we're going to work on the next 2 days? You played, like I took guys out today. You played behind the post, he scored, you're out. Why'd you play behind? Well, I was, just harder to be that way, harder to play that way. It's easier to play behind. So the other thing is we got to do something with the zone. Now, we worked on it, but not, and we called Coach Jackson and said, would you play us some zone? He said, I don't have a zone in. I said, geez, you sound like me. So we haven't really. Now, would you play a zone with the way we shoot? Maybe. Maybe trying to change up a game. We got to be prepared for it. I just told these guys today, tomorrow, and Saturday are big days for us. Forget about that we played tonight. Tomorrow's practice and Saturday's practice have to be good days for us.
Coach, you talked about the absence of Oscar, obviously quick turnaround for you guys. Do you anticipate him being able to go on Monday, and how much of it is a duality of trying to get the wins, but also making sure you guys are good down the stretch?
You know what? I would be stunned if he played Monday. I would be somewhat surprised if he played Friday. Do we play Monday, Friday? Is that what it is? I would be somewhat surprised. But it's mainly a pain threshold, and he's just not normal. If he wanted to play Monday, I probably wouldn't let him. He needs a few more days. If he wants to play Friday, I'm going to have to work him out myself and see. And if I did, he'd probably play 10 or 15 minutes just to get his legs under it. So, and then severe, I don't know. I mean, he was there and he's walking around, but you can't just say, well, I'll play Monday. You got to practice to make sure you can do this. But I saw some stuff today, and he and I talked on the bench, and there were some things I said to him, what do you think? And we did some stuff today on the fly with CJ. CJ was pretty good in pick and roll, wasn't he? Again, you want to know what you find out is you play games like this and you see certain guys in a pick and roll or better. And the main thing with him was his pace. He wasn't running downhill, mind moving, throw it. He was coming off and, he was good. Antonio made shots. He was good. I thought Adu did some good stuff again. Chris was way better.
Cal, how, difficult is it to get guys in the roles that you think they're going to be in when you have the National Player of the Year out for a month and all SEC point guard kind of in and out for the last few weeks?
Yeah, that's why I made the statement I made publicly about now with all what's just happening, this is going to take a little time. And to think you could play with 2 first-team all-conference players out and just pound people, it's not happening. I told the staff, we got to worry about putting ourselves in the best position with this group. The other side that happens is they're trying to find themselves. My big message to them, don't try to impress me. Try to impress your teammates. They know how we're coaching. Fall back on your training. Not with the chair and the cone and the broom and the workout guy. The training that we've given you and how we're trying to play. Fall back on it. You know what we're asking you to do. Do those things. If you can do more, we'll see. Like, I didn't know CJ was that good in pick and rolls. Anybody else know? Then you watch the game and you go, he's pretty good in pick and rolls. I told him the other thing is if you're missing free throws, do you expect to play the last 5 minutes of a close game? Now, you don't, do you? Come on. Yeah, but so what? I miss and we lose. No, it's not how it goes. So, how guys are playing, what they're putting out there for their teammates. And I said, impress yourself and impress your teammates. Don't worry about me. I got, a couple guys worry too much about me. Like, just do your thing.
Whether you're full
strength or not, do you like the idea of Antonio's kind of microwave guy coming off the bench?
Antonio, I like it. Here's the thing here. You know, there's an ego to starting. I'm a starter. I've said this before. Who finishes the games? Probably more important than who starts the games. Because you can start a guy just so he feels good about himself and sub him 3 minutes in. But that last part of the game, you're playing the guys that have the grittiness to them, the mental toughness to them, to play to win the game, and it's not playing just to play basketball. That may be what this team is. I've had guys come off the bench and they're lottery picks. I've had the guys come together as a team and share for each other, and no stats are really good, except analytically, all their stats are really good. And they all get drafted and go on and we win, but it's hard because, you know, people around them or what they're hearing is stats. How many points did you get? You know, you're in 6th and 7th grade. It's the only way you're in high school. You get your name in the paper because you scored the most points. Here, it really doesn't matter. You can average 10 or 9 or 8 and be a lottery pick, for God's sakes. So, but I like it. I like him off the bench. But you know, how about if you had CJ coming off the bench? I mean, it wouldn't matter either one. And then there are times I want them both in. Why? They go zone. All right, you're both in. Now both of you just start jacking balls. Here we go. But again, we end up with 10 turnovers, 6 between Kaysen and Antonio. Think about that, as fast as we're trying to play. So, rebounded better, didn't give up as many offensive rebounds, but we got more than they got. And again, that's without Oscar. What do you think of Uganda? Pretty impressive. And somebody we weren't sure. So I'm excited for him. He was scared to death when we sat him down. I just said, kid, your self-talk. You got to be positive. You got to be your biggest cheerleader. And if you got negative self-talk, it's gonna show in how you play. Now he's smiling, and we just smile, man, have fun. So he's a great kid and smart.
I was about to ask about Uganda. What have you liked about 35 minutes of playing time in these 2 exhibition games? Probably more opportunity than he would have had otherwise. What have you liked from what you've seen?
That has been an advantage for us to see. And even today, without Severe, now we got to see some stuff. What I think may happen is someone gets it going, he's going to play a little bit more than you. If he's, like he impacts the game in a different way than Lance impacts the game. What Lance can do, I'll be honest, Uganda's not very good at. But what Uganda's really good at, Lance isn't as good. But Lance got 3 blocks today. But this kid's blocking balls left and right, rebounding, in traffic. Lance had 9 today, 2. But so one may play more than another in a certain game. And it's the same with some of like Adu's shown some things now. Way better off the ball. He was used to having the ball and, soft cuts and, defensively never being held to this standard of, you got to play. And now all of a sudden he's held to a high standard. You see him going like, you see Chris. Well, what if he gets in and he's playing out of his mind? That means Chris may play less. What if Chris is diving, dunking, shooting, playing, then he may play. You got to accept that when you're on this kind of team. Thanks.